Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Frederick Kuzel, and I will be presenting with Maya uh, Kuczaj about the TESCO Technology and Business Services organization within Budapest. So, quick introductions for the two of us. As I mentioned, my name is Frederick. I'm the head of group engineering for Central Europe. This means that I'm responsible for our engineering hubs both in Budapest and in Krakow. I'm also responsible for all of TESCO's Central European and Asia Pacific grocery websites and all of the systems that support those within what we call the Lego platform. Maya, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Fred. Hi, my name is Maya. I am responsible for technology recruitment across Central European countries. And we have two technology hubs in Central Europe, and the one that we have in Budapest is our newest one.
Okay, so today first off, we're obviously working from home, so apologize for the background, but it's with COVID here. We need to clearly take precautions, and TESCO's implemented largely work from home policy. So let's talk a little bit about the office locations in Budapest, which I'm sure most of you are interested in. We are located in the Váci út area and also in Budaörs. Our main office for the TESCO Business Services and Technology is obviously by the map in the Váci út office. So if you're interested, this is where we would be located. Having said that, TESCO does have a current remote policy. So everyone is working remotely currently, and the expectation is at least 2 days within the office per week. We're currently reviewing our working practices, so that may change, and we are quite flexible. So there's our offices in the two different locations. Okay, so I'd like to talk to you a little about TESCO itself and what we do and who we are. So I'm sure many of you know TESCO from the retail center, the grocery store, right? But we actually operate in a number of countries. So we are in the UK and the Republic of Ireland, and that's as well as Central Europe and, of course, Asia Pacific. We have over 450,000 colleagues and a number of locations, 6,800. I think it's a bit less than that now. We've kind of moved our formats a bit. We're playing with home delivery a lot more, but we do around 80 million shopping trips per week. Okay? So what is it that TESCO Group encompasses? So if you look at this, our largest business is obviously TESCO UK Retail. Now that represents, I'm not sure, maybe 20 billion in sales per year. We also have Central European retail, you can see that just above, Southeast Asia retail, we also have Ireland, and then we have a lot of ancillary businesses. For example, one of our smaller businesses is a bank. We also have a mobile phone company and network in the UK. We also have an analytics company, dunnhumby, and Booker. Booker is responsible for large volume wholesale deliveries, for example. So TESCO itself is a large organization, and we cover a lot of different things. For example, TESCO Treasury Services is responsible for treasury, forex, etc. Okay. Now, what do we have in Budapest? Now, most of you are, well, all of you are within the IT and engineering space, so a lot of you will not be that interested in this. But in Budapest, we operate two separate services from an engineering and technology perspective. We have TESCO Business Services, and this organization is basically responsible for everything to do with payroll and HR administration, colleague technical support, and supplier support. So it's largely call center and business process optimization, and they're responsible for all of Central Europe. Okay? It's recently run some awards from HIPAA, and it's a culture where we put people first. And so that's competitive wages, we have home office opportunities, flexible working, team building activities, etc. in our Váci út office. And then if you're interested in any careers at the business services side, you can see that we're at tesco-bst.com/careers, and there you will find lots of opportunities to engage with TESCO in regards to taking on roles within that space. But most of you, if not all of you, are much more interested in TESCO technology. And so I'll hand over to Maya shortly so she can go into a little bit about what we're doing in TESCO technology to provide you the best experience.
Thank you. So, Fred, if you can put the next slide, please. So, technology in a nutshell. So, what you can see on the right-hand side is actually our brochure from 1984. It's obviously we've moved past that. We've evolved since what you can see on the right-hand side. Obviously, we've been around for over 100 years. TESCO has a very long history, right? We've been founded just at the end of World War One, predominantly to sell tea, but our business obviously has grown over the years exponentially. Now we have almost 500,000 employees globally in our stores and in technology, of course, and within our offices. More specifically, it's close to 5,000 that we have specifically in technology. And when we talk about the scale, we do have around 1,500 systems that we work with, right? So that can kind of show you the scale that we're operating with. Our projects are not local; they're always global. So I think that's another really good point to mention while we're at it. So our planned growth. So as you might have heard from Fred and from myself earlier today, we've opened a technology hub in Budapest almost 2 years ago. We are now just over 80 people in the office, and we're obviously looking to grow at least for another 40 vacancies. To be honest, I don't think we're going to stop at this 130 people. I think we're going to grow even further.
We're
So
definitely not stopping, Maya. We're growing as fast as we can, and
yes.
I'll explain shortly why.
Yes, I don't know what happened, but I if it's for everyone, but I lost the presentation, so it's no longer
Yep, I
um,
understand. You see it now,
visible. Yes,
okay? And let me know 1 second. And how about now? Is it full screen again?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hmm.
So as you can see, we mostly hire within software engineering, and when we go even deeper into that, we're usually hiring for Java-based roles or front-end roles that are JavaScript and React-based. We obviously also have other roles that come along with it that complement our hub, and that is product owners, product managers, and technical program managers that we're recruiting for. Within the next year, we're planning to launch a 12-month internship program, which will be paid. And we do really hope that within this program, within 1 year, you can grow into being a mid-level engineer. And this is also something that I want to also mention, and Fred will probably talk a little bit more about it later. We are not looking for programmers, we're looking for software engineers, because you're not only responsible in TESCO for developing code, you're also involved in planning of the architecture, you're also responsible for testing. We don't have any QAs in TESCO. We do truly believe for end-to-end development. What's in it for you? Well, as you can see, we have quite a few benefits that come along the salary. I think Fred, you've already mentioned the office, which is very easily accessible, flexible working hours, among others. But apart from that, we also have a high-end MacBook that we're using. We have a yearly bonus, which is between 4.5% and 9% of your annual salary. We do have a cafeteria, which obviously you can decide what you want to purchase through the cafeteria. Mobile phone also that is available for you to use for private purposes. Learning platforms, that's the one that I would like to stop a little bit longer for. We are using Pluralsight, Safari Books, also known as O'Reilly, and recently I think we've launched Udemy. So there's quite a few to choose from, and apart from that, we have paid trainings, meaning we have a platform called QA where you can basically pick trainings that you'd like to conduct and be certified with.
Yeah, just if I could jump in there really quick, Maya. I mean, we also have a TESCO Academy, which is basically a school within TESCO, and it was award-winning this year for one of the most comprehensive sets of trainings available. So we take growth of colleagues or employees very seriously, and we think it's a priority for the organization because our ability to innovate depends on the capabilities of the people working in the organization. And we'll talk about that in a bit, but it's very important for us to grow colleagues within the organization.
Exactly. And I believe also that joining TESCO now, as we're still very much fast growing organization, is probably one of the best moments to consider us joining, because this is the moment where your career will probably get the most out of the growth that we're currently in. Apart from that, we're also not only a job, you can definitely have a career at TESCO if you only want to. There's a lot of opportunities to grow within the company, and you can move either upwards or move into, well, if you wish to move into management roles within the next couple years, or you can also move into single contributor roles and always remain as a hands-on technical person. Of other two things that I didn't mention over here of the benefits, we obviously have a shopping discount that's 10% for all of the shopping at Tesco's. And apart from that, you have all you can move sport pass, which I think is a local benefit that we're using in Hungary. Over to you, Fred.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so many of you saw this a little bit earlier. I want to go into how does this relate to TESCO technology. So we are part of group engineering, and what that means is that we focus on global solutions. And so everything in the dark blue is something that we in group engineering are responsible for managing. So essentially, you're looking at the retail platforms. Okay, and let's take a little trip through history with TESCO technology. TESCO technology has been around for a long time, obviously 30, 40 years, but most of the work that we did with TESCO technology was done by third parties. So what we would do, and I'll take you through this from our architecture view, is we would actually have the stores managed by third-party applications. For example, perhaps Oracle Retail Marketing, right? Or Retail Management Solution, RMS. And then this would power the stores. But at some point, we wanted to introduce web. Okay? And so what we did is we brought in online grocery. And what we did is we took our store platform and said, well, that's mainframe based. We're not that interested in using the mainframes for basically a web platform. It's not going to allow us to iterate or evolve. And so what we did is we built, using C# and .NET, we built a separate modern solution, and then we kept the mainframe and the databases in sync. So let's say you went into a store and you bought something. When you actually went on the internet, it wouldn't know that that was removed from stock necessarily until a batch file ran overnight. Okay? And then we introduced Ireland with groceries on the web. And then we introduced Tesco Direct, right? Tesco Direct and GMO, general merchandising, which is basically things like lawnmowers and tires, etc. And then we introduced the international and the F&F clothing. And you'll notice these were all copy and pastes of the same system, okay, with slight modifications. Then we introduced all of the international websites. And now we're in a situation where if you actually come in as a user and you use our different sites, you need to log in 4 or 5 times. Obviously, this is a problem. The world has moved on. This is not where any company wants to be. Okay. Last, we introduced, we have our other sites, mobile, banking, etc. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to re-architect this, and we wanted to change the way we thought. And this means we needed to introduce new ways of working. And so about 7 or 8 years ago, an organization called the product delivery teams, future dev teams, call it what you would, was created. Okay. And the idea was to take all of our domains and turn them into a properly separated domain-driven design organization based on enterprise APIs, essentially, and microservices. Essentially what you see in an Amazon API ecosystem. Okay? So you just have one identity, one price. Why would you have a different database system for the price of clothing versus necessarily the price of groceries? You know, all of your UIs would be powered by consistent APIs underneath. Giving you a quick look at all of these systems, you can see on the right, as Maya was alluding to, we have business goals And those business goals map into systems. Every single outer line ring here is a separate system. And so what you can see is that we have our business objectives in the center that split out between operating the business and supporting the business. And then within the operating the business, we're trying to do different things for our customers. And then you see the second or third ring, you start to see the teams. And I've actually called out one team here, the TILS team. This TILS team is maybe 40 people, 40 engineers, and it owns and manages, I'm not even sure what that number is, but 30 or 40 different systems. The green ones are our strategic systems going forward that we want to expand and grow on. Okay? So what does that mean by expanding and growing on those teams? Well, that is the future development team, building the future. Okay? That's why we're here in Budapest. And so when we look at Budapest, we want to grow our teams to support the future of the engineering of TESCO, to innovate, to iterate, to create autonomy and mastery within the teams. We're creating a reputable, customer-centric, highly motivated and engaged team designed to deliver business value through high-quality, product-led engineering. Okay? If we break this down, we want to create a brand in Hungary, a brand in Poland, a global technology brand saying that TESCO actually knows how to do engineering. Okay? Customer centric. So again, product focus. Put the 5 whys. Simon Sinek, start with why. Put the customer at the center and the heart of our business. And we want to hide our purpose. We want to make sure that the colleagues that work for us actually feel like they're trying to do something for society, feed the nation. Nothing is more clear about this as when we actually had the COVID pandemic in the UK. Within a matter of 4 to 6 weeks, we had almost doubled our deliveries to individuals' homes, and we had hired 30,000 more colleagues, 800 more drivers. We had purchased about, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, 4 to 8,000 lorries or vehicles to deliver groceries, and we completely changed our business model to a home delivery model. When we say engaged team, we're talking about driving autonomy, mastery, accountability, and empowerment. Now, you can basically summarize this with lean engineering, right? And that's, a lot of you will have heard of Agile. Agile with a capital A is a noun, something to be sold. We don't like Agile with a capital A that you sell. We like business agility. So iterative development, right? Focusing on user-centric and feature delivery and value generation, okay? Ensuring that the individuals in the team have some sort of connection to the vision and the deliverable. We don't want to have separation where you're being task managed and told what to do. That is not what TESCO Technology is about. We are an innovative organization within a larger organization, focusing on delivering customers and colleagues and suppliers. So those are 3 primary areas that we support. So we support on customers, obviously, because we're a retail business, colleagues, our internal team, and our suppliers. We went from being one of the worst rated organizations from a supplier perspective about 7 years ago to winning one of the highest awards for being the best supplier, um, the best customer for suppliers, or as we could possibly be in the UK. And high quality. So we're going to go into this in a bit more, but essentially we look for a diamond-shaped team or a learning organization. And then we make sure we build the right thing, focusing on the why. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that this future dev team that's replacing all of these systems that were purchased is actually going to be growing. And we're going to have 200 plus in Budapest. Okay. What technologies do we use? Well, basically anything that's on the modern stack. We have Go, we have Kotlin, we have Scala, we have Java, we have Node. We're running in AWS, we're running in Azure. We use, most of our systems are event-based, which means that everything has to be loosely coupled and communicates with everything else via eventing. And we try and structure the organization to operate around the latest technologies where they make sense. Okay. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the individuals and the team designs. And this is where it's really important for yourselves as students looking for a location to work. Okay? And before we actually talk about that, I just want to describe the industry as a whole. When you look at engineering, okay, and when you look at software development, and when you look at infrastructure support, and when you look at any kind of engineering role, quite often you'll see most organizations operate in what would be considered an A-shaped model. And what that means is they'll have one senior or two seniors, 3 or 4 mid-level people, and 5 or 6 juniors. Okay? And we can see that here, the pyramid model. Okay? And this archetype, this team archetype, is considered standard across most of the industry. Now ask yourself a question. If you're going into an organization, how do you want to learn? Do you want to be in an organization that focuses on a large volume of individual juniors who are building a lot of product, and then more senior people who are focused on coaching and mentoring them and not actually delivering code? So when you have these ratios, the senior engineers, apologies, when you have these ratios, the senior engineers, the ones who can be coaching and teaching, they do not have the time to coach and teach, as well as make sure the quality of the code is working well, as well as make sure the architecture is done well. And the assumption of this model is that the proficiency of the individuals at the junior level, and the large number of them, make up for the lack of seniors. And it's just not true. So we are a strong believer in the diamond model in TESCO, and that's probably about 40% of the industry moving towards this, maybe even less, 30. And then you have, of course, a talent-heavy model. This is very rarely used. Essentially, it's used for high-performing startups with a lot of money backing them. But the diamond model basically works like this. You have several principles for a group of engineers. Then you have seniors or architects. Our seniors usually were the best people in the company they've come from, if not within the top 10 percentile. And then you have your mids, and then you have your juniors and grads. Now, if you look at the TESCO technology mix, we like to have 40% seniors in the team. Why does this matter? Well, 40% seniors, the architecture is going to be better. You're going to get a lot more debate. You're going to get a lot more viewpoints. You're going to get a lot more understanding of different opportunities and technologies to utilize within your solution. But why does it matter for you as graduates or as potential graduates? Well, it matters for you because when you only have 1 or 2 juniors per team, you get a lot of attention from the seniors trying to support you. Okay? You become part of a team that is not only high performing and doing things right, but you get the opportunity to grow and learn from them. We have a rule that you have to earn the right to teach someone. Okay? This isn't necessarily a whole TESCO rule. This is a Central Europe engineering rule. Is essentially you have to demonstrate that you've got the ability to engage with the business, take the business requirements and turn them into appropriate software architecture design, okay? Estimate, preferably work with the business to prioritize more than estimate, design the software, build the software, deploy the software and manage your own CI/CD pipeline, which for those of you who don't know is continuous integration, continuous deployment or delivery, and then release the code into a live environment with 0 downtime, and monitor, alert, and manage that live system. Okay? This entire scope of understanding, right, means we have to have much more senior people because a cross-functional team, both from a business perspective and a technical skill set perspective. So we need people who can do DevOps and software engineering. We need people who can do databases and software engineering. We need people who understand networking and software engineering, security and software engineering. Okay? And it also means that we need people on the product side to actually understand what the business requirements are very clearly. But what it really does, and the most important thing, is it teaches the junior people on the team how to do things right, because they're surrounded by highly capable, competent senior engineers, and lots of them, so they have time for you. Well, so this is one thing that I've noticed recurring with graduates. Congratulations, you graduated. Okay, it's time to learn. You've reached approximately 1% of the knowledge you need in the rest of your career, maybe 2. And that sounds, maybe it sounds shocking, but it's actually true. Okay? And why is this, why is it so complex, you can ask? Well, if you go from being a junior software engineer, right, to a mid, this is the kind of thing we expect from you. You need to completely understand your software domain. So in TESCO, a mid-level developer, they understand how to write code. They might even understand the JVM. They understand how to do proper testing. They understand the different opportunities, why you would select SQL and no SQL. What's the CAP theorem and how do you do trade-offs? Okay? They also understand DevOps. So essentially, they understand a lot of what there is in the entire software spectrum of being a Java or a Node or a .NET developer. But what's different between a mid and a senior is that the seniors also know how to engage with the business. Okay? As you progress through your career, you spend more and more time outside of the team. I call it it's basically a pyramid. You have a pyramid, and at the bottom of your career, inside that pyramid is in the team, okay? And just outside of the pyramid is on the team, and then everything outside you is outside of the team. So what does this mean? This means when you start your career, you're in the team doing work. You're doing software development, you're doing feature delivery. As you get more senior, you start having opinions. Should we do Scrum? Should we do Kanban? Okay, what is Scrum and Kanban? How do you optimize a daily engineering time, right? Are we doing Pomodoro? Are we taking a break every 20 minutes to reset our mindset? How do we optimize flow, where you get your mind into the computer and then 4 hours later you look up and you think it's been 15 minutes because your concentration is so intense, okay? So it becomes a lot more about software development than just writing code. And so this is kind of where we try and bring our colleagues. We focus on bringing individuals and we capitalize on strength-based management. So we find where their skill sets best are and we try and guide them towards that area. Maybe you do not want to engage with the business as much. Well, then perhaps we should focus you on some of the DevOps side. Okay. So I know I'm pretty much out of time now for this portion. We'll be back in about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. But my message to you is this. You've just entered a time when you need to go into the world of work, either as an internship or as a new role. It's really important for you to pick an organization that will help you grow and is not there just to get you to do work and forget about you. Don't be part of the pyramid structure, okay? You want to be part of an organization that takes into account your ability to deliver while growing you. Right, when we come back, we'll be talking a little bit about the teams that we have in Budapest and the software we're building. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Just check with Maya. Maya, can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, so what are we doing in Budapest? Well, these are the teams we currently have available in Budapest. Some of these teams I can go into a lot of detail, others I cannot. Maya, if you could please put yourself on mute. I'm hearing you twice.
I was on mute. I just unmuted myself, so I don't think that was me. Sorry.
Okay, so In Budapest, we currently have my product, which is essentially managing the products within TESCO that are sold to customers. I can't go into too much detail on these as they are currently, we call them secret squirrels, but not largely being informed to the public. So essentially, these teams are responsible for engaging with everything to do with a third party, that being the vendors and the suppliers. We also have a team called loss prevention. The loss prevention team is responsible for ensuring that there is no loss of goods within a store or online. So they identify any challenges or any risks to the organization from online purchases. They're also responsible for managing the scales within a store. If we look at about 10 years ago, there was a situation in one of our competitors where you could put a 1 liter milk onto the scale and in the screen type in that it was 10 milk, and then it would be 10 kilos. But it just so happens that a PlayStation is also 10 kilos. So it's very easy for individuals to put down on the scale a PlayStation and put in 10 milk, and then walk out of the store with a PlayStation for the price of 10 milk. So part of this team's responsibility is for not only using the scale, but also ensuring that anything to do with an individual within a store, a customer, for example, doesn't lead to loss to TESCO. For example, when you have a customer who accidentally walks out of the store with a product, or perhaps intentionally walks out of the store with a product. So we can be introducing such things as artificial intelligence and checking to see if there's any activity that we wouldn't want to be happening within the store. Okay, so what else do we have? We also have, bear with me 2 seconds. The trading partner income. This team is responsible for any income reconciliation with third parties. So essentially, every single time we actually engage with a third party, we must reconcile those invoices back into our system. Now, there was a time when we actually had a team who is managing this within India to ensure that this is being done. So essentially, this team is responsible for making sure all financial transactions between ourselves and suppliers get appropriately reconciled, not only in a profit and loss statement and a subledger and a ledger, but all the way through to the end result of the business. Okay. Okay. Next is price and promotions. This team is responsible for ensuring that prices are appropriate and the promotions are actively being managed. So for example, when we, okay, my apologies, I had a technical challenge here. So when you actually have a price for a product, let's use the example of milk again. When we buy milk from a vendor, we can be selling it in Budapest, or maybe we're selling it in London, or maybe Manchester, or maybe another location. Every single one of those locations will have a different cost of sale. And that's because every single location has a different cost for rent. It's got a different cost for the property costs. Everything is different about different locations. And we call these things catchment areas. And a catchment area can have a unique price for that milk. So in the UK, we have dozens of catchment areas that represent different prices for every single product. When you look at Tesco, we have 15,000 products. Those 15,000 products all have a unique price by location. So the complexity of ensuring that those products are appropriately entered into the system and managed by someone from the business, that they can then be resold at the correct price, is all the responsibility of the price and promotions team. And the promotions, for example, let's just say that you have half price milk. Or if you have 3 milks, you get the 4th one free. Or you buy milk and you have butter, and you show up with 4 milk and butter. Do we give you the milk, the 3rd milk free? Do we give you the butter at half price, or do we give you the milk, the final milk at half price? whatever combination of these things might be. And that's responsibility from the promotion team and the quote team. So they do all the calculations around this, and they present to the user the final value. Okay? This team specifically is all about the rule sets for ingesting that data. Now, this can, when you think about how complex this could be, you can be in a situation, for example, I know of a particular organization that had this challenge where lingerie in Scotland was in one promotion half price, okay, and then another supplier brand gave their lingerie for half price as well. Now, it just so happened that the 2 dates for the 2 promotions overlapped by 2 days, and that would have broken a rule set. Okay? So it ends up that a customer went to a rack and got that particular brand on the day when the 2 promotions overlapped, went to purchase them, and found out that it was free. Okay? And of course, this is fantastic for the customer, not so good for the business. And so the purpose of the price and promotion teams is not just to actually build software to ingest prices, to manage prices across any given location, but also to ensure that the prices and promotions do not conflict with each other. So when you actually take the combinations of prices, 15,000 times maybe in Hungary, I'm not sure exactly how many catchment areas we have, let's just say 20, times the possible combinations of promotions you have, you end up with tens or hundreds of millions of different permutations that any one product can go through by the time you actually display it on the screen to someone's web browser or with them in the store. Okay? It gets complex, and then you multiply this across the globe. And it's very complex to manage our products and our promotions. And we also have a retail platform. Now, this is one of the most interesting teams within the Budapest. These are all interesting teams, but this is a really exciting one. And why is that? Well, when you think of a TESCO till, which is the device that you go when you're cashing out, so the conveyor belt where you put your goods, or the self-service till, okay, or the 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 scan as you shop device or your mobile phone, okay? All of these things are interfaces into the sales platform for TESCO. Okay? When you actually go to purchase something in the store, however, that device has to work even if it doesn't have internet connection. Think of that. How can this one box, right, that is either self-service or is manned with someone behind it, how can it manage to sell you something with no internet connection? That means it's not connected to the stock management system. That means it's not connected to any other servers or anything within the store even perhaps, right? That means that how is it supposed to have all the information it needs to sell you something? Well, the simple answer is service mesh. We take the entire data center that's required for the tills, which is approximately 25 or 30 services, APIs, that are then broken down into microservices, and we embed a virtual data center in every single till. And we use what's called a service mesh with a sidecar. And that means we actually have to take all of this data, store it locally, that's relative to that store, and then that allows us to continue operating the business even if we're not connected to the network. Okay? We can actually take offline payments even. As long as your PIN matches your card, we know that you've actually accessed the right account. Now, we cannot complete the transaction until we reconnect the network, but that's a scenario we have to go. And that goes back to the loss prevention team. Because the loss prevention team, if you're using your club card, you have a different level of trust within the organization. Okay? And so the TESCO tills and the retail platform, this team is responsible for updating all of the 80,000 devices we have across all of our stores globally. And updating them is not a simple matter either. It used to be that when we actually push an update into a store, okay, sometimes the payments would fail on the way out. Well, why is that? That doesn't make sense. Well, simply because if we're pushing a catalog of 100 new products into a store, the actual network connection in the store cannot handle the bandwidth requirements to send out payments at the same time as bringing down the product updates. In every single till would go and make a product update and request to the centralized server for the product update itself. Because remember, every single till is its own data center. So how do we manage this? Well, this team's responsible for doing multicasting, bringing one version of the data and distributing it. It's responsible for prioritizing, the network traffic. So very low-level networking designs, very low-level virtualized everything. Everything is completely virtualized. Quality of service. It's responsible for making sure that we have a complete dashboard in the central location where we can deploy new technologies to a subset of a store. If we have a new version of a till and we want to deploy weekly or monthly, well, we don't want to send that everywhere and then lose all of our tills if something goes wrong. What we want to do is send it to one or two tills in one store, in one country, in one language, right? And then slowly roll it out to the other tills across the estate. Now, when you actually look at this, you think, okay, so we're in, 5, 6 different countries. We have 4 or 5 different hardware vendors with different equipment. We're changing the software once. We actually have to write some of the drivers to integrate with the hardware themselves. How do we know it works? So all of our stores become a physical CI/CD deployment pipeline. And then we actually have to create a dashboard to monitor the deployments of our updated software stack to every single device. Because it's not a Amazon virtualized till that you're buying your groceries from. It's an actual till. It's a physical device, and it's actually got an embedded data center in it as a service mesh. So the complexity of this team is quite high. You'll notice there's actually 4 teams involved in this, and it's extremely interesting work. It covers everything from dashboards to identifying, to deployments, to monitoring deployments, to understanding the quality of service of the network connections, to actually identifying specific failure modes in a given store with a given piece of hardware for a given device. So every single one of the 80,000 tills is represented and dashboarded, and what software is running on it, how we can update it, when we can update it, etc. The next one I want to talk to you a little bit about is fulfillment. So what is fulfillment? Fulfillment is basically warehouse management. So we have different types of warehouse management solutions. We have some of our older warehouses, which are still manually picked. And we have some of our newer warehouses, which are much more automated. This team is responsible for the more manual warehouses. So this is a tablet where you actually, an order comes in, you place an order as a customer of TESCO on the internet. This shows up on a tablet, right, on a device. It gives a map of the warehouse on where the individual has to walk to find the products in what order. So this team's responsible for the entire fulfillment pipeline of that, where they actually have to walk around the warehouse, pulling products off the shelf and putting them into the basket to then get sent to the driver. Okay, which then brings us to transport. I'm going to skip omnichannel for a second. Let's talk about transport. So the driver now has this manifest and he has the groceries. Well, how does he get to your house? Well, he gets to your house by driving there. But when does he drive there? How does he drive there? What is his schedule? What is his route? All of these things is software built by TESCO. Okay? We are so large that it's more cost effective for us to build our own algorithms to drive through the city than for us to buy a third-party solution. It just doesn't make sense to buy things when you actually have the scale that we have in many of these products. And so this team's transports a lot about the algorithmic mathematics behind route planning throughout a city based on traffic patterns. Let's go back to omnichannel now. This is actually my personal teams. So these teams are responsible for our Central European and Asia Pacific websites in relative to groceries. So when you are shopping in the Hungarian website, that is my responsibility. If you have challenges, I apologize. It's completely being rewritten. So we are working on updating all of our websites, all of our mobile applications. I believe the latest mobile application, which is a complete new version, is already launched or will be launching shortly. And so that's going to have a completely new version in the next couple of weeks. But the current website is also being rewritten and will become much more advanced. There's new features being added multiple times a week. All of our teams do iterative developments, multi-week deployments, and we're going live constantly. Okay, so if you want to be part of that journey, if you want to be personally part of one of my 3 teams, that I'm managing those 3 teams directly because I'm passionate about the web, please, by all means, talk to Maya, call the recruitment team, and we can move that forward. TESCO shared platform, that's as our organization grows, essentially we find that we give all of our teams autonomy. They then duplicate effort. So when I first joined TESCO about 4.5 years ago, I was given 4 AWS keys. It's like, here's your authentication credentials for your 2 teams, right? Build software. That means I had to organize all of my own CI/CD pipelines. I had to organize my own servers, my virtualization, my blue-green deployments, my automated deployment scenarios, my monitoring, my alerting. All of that had to be done with myself and the colleagues that I worked with, our team. Okay, obviously that is not efficient. It's highly agile, and it's extremely focused on lean software engineering, and you can really deliver business value. But when you actually scale it across 100 teams, you lose efficiency. And you lose efficiency simply because people do things differently. You lose a network effect of knowledge. Okay, and so now we're moving towards what's called a team topology. There's a really good book. You probably won't need that for some time, but it's called Team Topologies, and it identifies how to create fracture planes in your organization, how to split your organization between cross-functional engineering teams and platform teams that create like Amazon AWS style APIs for other teams to consume. So as a team, for example, building loss prevention, why do I need to worry about Jenkins? I just want my build to run. It should be Jenkins as a service. As long as I have control over it, that's what matters. And that's what the platform team does. And then we have 2 new teams that are joining us, a cache team and a fuel team. The cache team is basically responsible for tracking cache and coupons throughout our entire system. At the moment, we have a team of 10 to 20 people in India who have to constantly, every single day, call up the stores and say something like this. Yesterday at 2 p.m., until number 22, manned by, I don't know, Yuri, there was a transaction that was said to have been for 100 Yuri, sorry, apologies, euro, and we only received 80 euros for it, etc. What happened to the other 20 euros? Then we have to go to the bag that has the money for that shift for that individual and find the coupon that was forgotten to be put into the system for the 20 euros. So this team is all about automating and limiting that. And the fuel team is about managing fuel. So I think what we'll do now is we'll take some Q&A from the YouTube. So if you will bear with me, I will load up the YouTube. If you have any questions, please ask them on the YouTube channel.
Yes, I've already started to reply to some of the questions, but guys, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask them. This is really your space. Yeah, let me provide you the link just in 1 minute.
Maya, if you want to read out the questions for me.
I think all of them so far were related to recruitment. So I think we're covered for the moment. But I will of course keep you in the loop for new questions coming in.
Well, look, I want to provide value in terms of you yourselves and your career progression, what you should look for within software engineering and or engineering itself. I used to be in systems engineering as well. So in my career, I've done about 10 years systems engineering and about 15 years software engineering.
So Fred, if I can interrupt you, so
Sure.
we have a first technical question. So what tech
Sure.
stack is mostly used in web app jobs?
In web jobs.
Web app. I think we're talking about the web app, meaning your teams.
Sure. So we have, it's mainly JavaScript with React, with Redux, and we're building everything now. We're moving forward to micro front ends. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with micro front ends, but there's a various number of components there. The teams can largely choose their testing stack, but of course we're using some Selenium. My apologies, there's something in my throat. Right. The teams are largely capable of choosing any particular framework they prefer, but the majority of the stack is React, Redux, built with JavaScript, obviously, with Node backend as a backend for front end, and then the microservice APIs behind that are Java. And the Node component operates as an aggregator. For example, we want to have a decoupled design, kind of like an MVC design, which means you have a view model specific to a mobile application or a view model for the website. That view model, we want it to be consistent regardless of whether you're in Central Europe and the backend systems are Oracle because they haven't been migrated to the future dev enterprise APIs, or necessarily if you're in the UK, where everything is completely designed and built by the TESCO engineering team, which is us. And so we have the node layer to handle all of that because there's quite complexities depending on the country you're in. Any other questions on
Yes,
that?
so there is a question around whether the internship would be available in Debrecen. So overall, we've mentioned that we're flexible in terms of working hours as well as the location. There's a possibility to work partially remotely. So partially yes, partially no. There would be occasions, especially in your first years as a developer, as an engineer. It's probably very important for you to get that guidance from senior colleagues, and we do believe that some face-to-face interactions would be needed. So we're open to probably having a hybrid model, but it would not be 100% remote. Next question: is it possible for someone with Python and a backend Flask or maybe Java Spring experience to join the team? I believe I can answer that. Yes, definitely. Fred, do you want to add anything to this question?
Well, certainly. So we take in intelligent self-starters who add value. Now, this is of course at the graduate level. If you're talking about a more senior level, then the frameworks are less important. We don't really care if you're Angular or React, but you generally need to know JavaScript or Java. Now, if you're looking for Scala or PySpark, which is more on our data science side, we absolutely have roles globally. I mean, we have a whole data science team in Poland. If you're interested in that, if you want to stay in Python and move towards the data science side of Python, PySpark, for example, that would be the area you'll be looking at. But if you're interested in moving into TESCO technology in Budapest, and you're a grad, we don't expect a lot. We just expect someone who's intelligent, hardworking, and willing to put effort in. That's kind of what we're looking for. We will handle and teach you the rest of the things you need to know. That's what the internship program is for.
Exactly, and I actually there is a question around the internship with. So, is there business courses related to internship? So, the whole internship program is designed in a way that within the year with us, we do expect you to pick up quite a bit. There's a lot of training involved in it, and there's a lot of topics we want to cover. Basically, the plan is that after the 12 months program, you should be able to hit our SDE2, Software Development Engineer 2 level, which when we see candidates coming from external companies, usually takes them about 4 years to hit. So we do want to put a really good program for you to get a really good head start in your career. Another question, do you have embedded software and what technologies and languages you use?
Um, well, it depends what you mean by embedded software. So if you look at the tills, one could argue that they're embedded, but no, they're not microcontrollers. Um, from the traditional view of embedded software, no, we are not programming microcontrollers. We are not using C++ to write microcontroller architectures. We have partners that do that for our automation work. So as TESCO as a whole, there is microcontroller software development happening, but it is not within the Budapest teams.
Right. So the next questions, what are the requirements for the internship? And the other question related to internship is where I can apply for the position. So for the internship, we're only going to launch it spring 2022. So we don't have any of those roles just for the internship just yet posted. They will definitely be posted on our LinkedIn page, but also by then we expect to have also our career page joined with TBST. And so we're going to obviously put it there as well. In regards to the requirements, we will obviously have a limited amount of seats available for internship program. There will be most likely a coding exercise to be done, and might be also a conversational interview around basically your willingness to learn and providing experience. Based on that, we will select best candidates for.
Yeah, so essentially it works like this. The teams need to prove themselves capable of teaching before they're allowed to teach. This is a complete paradigm shift. So we don't let our teams hire. As a matter of fact, I think we have one junior right now in Budapest, and Poland, which has been running for 4 years. Okay, we've just started introducing juniors. We think we have 3 or 4. So in TESCO technology, well, in Central Europe for TESCO technology, the teams have to earn the right to teach someone, which tells me and tells you that they're really good. So the point with that is that we only allow one junior grad per team. And then that grad is on a rocket ship because they're surrounded by a lot of senior people who are dying to teach someone because they've been asking to teach people for 6 months a year. And I've been saying no, or we've been saying no as a leadership team until they've got high enough quality work. And our bar is extremely high. Our bar is not what you would expect from a retail organization. So what does this mean for you? Well, this means that you can see the number of teams here. Each one of these teams is allowed one junior or grad. So you can do some simple math, and not all of them have qualified to teach. So looking at the internship program, I can just guess it's 2, 4, 6, 9, 13, let's say 25 interns max, and you say, okay, we're ready to take on 15 or so within our first year. So you're looking at about 15 to 20 people for our first intake. Maya?
Yes, so I'm just going to look through the next questions that we have. Can last semester student apply for a junior position? I assume that this would require working part-time in the interim until you graduate. That literally depends on the hiring manager whether they agree to a part-time employee. So we take it on one-on-one basis. You're free to apply, of course, to a junior role, but we will probably come back to you with a feedback based on the response from the hiring manager. If it's 12 months internship, how many hours a week? Well, essentially, what we want to draw it as the selection process for the internship will start in spring, and the internship program will start during the summer break. For the 3 months where you're in your summer break, you would work full time, and for the remaining time, should you need to go back to the university to complete your degree, unless you're of course graduated, you would work part time. I believe that it's minimum it's 2 days per week. So that's the requirement, but basically we adjust this to your needs. If you can work more than 2 days per week, that's absolutely fine. You basically earn pro rata of how much you work. So what is your amount of part-time working? A question on how many people will be accepted in the first internship. So I believe that we have a couple of teams. If we can go back to the slide, Fred, how many teams we have?
Yeah, look, I think there's about 15 or so that will be having the first internship. It depends on how many teams we deem are ready to take interns. I think most of the teams that we have now are probably ready, and I would say half of these teams are full, so 15 or so, give or take.
Any further questions? So from my perspective, of course, I'm not a techie, but I can definitely tell you that I've seen some amazing stories from people who have joined us and grew their career very quickly within TESCO. Um, Obviously, a lot of companies do, advertise themselves as they give you the opportunity to grow. For us, it's not only part of branding. We really do truly believe in it, and we live with it. I myself, based on my experience, I've joined as a recruiter, and over the period of 3 years, I've grown 2 technology hubs. I am now managing 2 recruitment teams, and I've been, exposed to so many different areas, and I can't be more grateful for all the opportunities that I've been given. So within the whole organization, we as long as you're only up to it and you're willing to learn, there's a lot of opportunities for you.
And I think that's the key. And I'll echo what Maya was saying. Um, you've just entered your career. You're just starting to enter your career, and it's an exciting phase in your life. You need to focus on learning now, because software engineering, you're not a software engineer or a systems engineer or an administrator. You're a business person who happens to have technical skills. That's a very key message. You are a business person. Otherwise, why are you in that seat or that room? And maybe the business is to save the world, right? Maybe it's a charity. But your job and your purpose, right, and your higher level goal has to be something, A, it has to be valuable to you, but B, you're there to solve a worldly problem. You need to understand what that is. And therefore, you need to start building some skill sets around software development. Okay? That's the key. Software engineering is not the same as it was when I started 25 years ago or so. You cannot sit in the corner and just write code. The modern software engineer is a highly engaged person working with other talented people delivering business value.
Yeah, absolutely. So a few more questions. Students, programs, and internship, are they also available on LinkedIn? Not at the moment. We are not advertising any student programs, internships at this moment, because we are only going to launch it next year. So once we're closer to the time when we're going to be selecting candidates, we will definitely post it, and it will be available on LinkedIn. However, it is not at the moment because we're not having any internship for the moment. Is there any other types of internship you provide this summer? No, not at this point. This year we don't have any internships. We're going to launch it in 2022. Which skills are more importance, which skills are getting more importance in TESCO if we talk about business? So there are 5 key values that we're looking at a certain individuals that are apart from the technical side. Fred, do you want to iterate on that?
Yeah, certainly. So we have resilience, which is your ability uh, to handle emotional challenges and to flex. So one of the core things we try and teach is handling the knocks of life. So you've had COVID hit you, and now you're sitting at your desk at home for 8 hours a day. Well, we're going to create a call center for you to call for asking for help, and we're going to ask you how you're doing, right? So handling resilience in life is one of our leadership values, we call them, okay? Collaboration, how do you engage with other people, right? Innovation, how innovative are you? Empathetic, how empathetic are you to others? How do you work as a team? Okay, so we don't only focus on the the engineering skills, the hard skills, we're now calling these things, and the industry is starting to change these. They used to be called soft skills. Now they're be calling power skills. Okay, and those are becoming more and more important to TESCO as we go forward.
So another question, what are the desired skills you're looking for the internship? So in terms of the internship itself, like I've mentioned, there will be a coding exercise, which might be different for each team that will be looking for an intern. I guess it will focus around basic coding knowledge, and then it will be followed by a soft skills interview, which will pretty much focus around the key areas that Fred mentioned now. So resilience, innovation, collaboration. Fred, help me out what the other two are.
Collaboration.
That's been already mentioned.
I need to pull them up, Maya.
So yeah, so it is a mix. We're not only looking for people who have only the technical skills. We are very successful only because we're getting probably the top people who can share their knowledge, can really work well together. So you can't just build a company that feels like home or feels like a family if you don't have people who have good communication skills, for example.
Also is responsiveness. So, for example, someone's sending you an email and you're not able to take that email right now because you're too busy responding to set expectations upon when you will respond. So essentially, how responsive and adaptable are you to your current workload?
Another question, the coding exercise, will it be in vanilla JavaScript? We're not able to say what the test will look like at this point because, like I said, it will vary from team to team. If you're going to be applying for a internship program for a front-end role, it might be focused around JavaScript. I'm not able to tell you exactly what would be.
Not might. It definitely would be. So look,
Yeah.
look. The coding tests are going to be either an interpreted language or a object-oriented compiled language. But so the interpreted ones are obviously Python. You have Node, or you have the JVM stack for compiled language or C#. So you don't necessarily, as a graduate, have to know a specific language. You just have to know how to do some software and then explain what you're doing. We don't expect the world from you. We just expect you to demonstrate some understanding of software engineering principles. So maybe you can do C#, which is very similar to Java. I mean, arguably C# is better, to be honest with you. I've done both languages, and they keep trading who's better at any given point in time, depending on the release. My point is, if you really want to put a foot ahead, you probably want to be doing some Java and or Node and JavaScript, right? Because those are the languages TESCO does in Budapest primarily.
Right, couple more questions. Any recommendations on how to write a CV, certain format? Also for projects that would raise a few eyebrows that I should have in my GitHub. And then a second, is it a deal breaker if I don't have previous full-time working experience? So answering first the second question, no, it's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely worth having a couple of repositories in GitHub to be able to show them as you're not just sitting there waiting for your job, that you're proactively, brushing up your skills. That definitely give you a big advantage over other candidates in the process. When it comes to writing a CV, definitely keep it clean and especially with your first jobs, or what do you do on daily basis, or even if you're writing just about your personal pet projects, do write what exactly you've done in those. That really does help us, especially helps non-technical recruiters to assign you to certain jobs, or present you to hiring managers, and might determine your success in the recruitment process. When it comes to the format, that doesn't really matter. I would probably, as a recruiter, say that don't put your photo in your CV, because we're still humans. We might subconsciously judge you based on the picture, but that's totally up to you. I know that there are some recruiters who actually prefer the CVs with pictures, simply because
Ironically, sorry, Maya, ironically, that's illegal in England and North America. Um, you can't put photos on pictures. It's actually illegal to do so.
yes,
I
because
find it very.
it's been proven that you might be judged not on what's written on your CV, but based on the picture, whether someone subconsciously liked you or not.
Exactly.
So
No,
I
you
know,
don't need a photo with us. No photos, please. We don't care. We just want
yes,
to. What we want to do is we want to read your CV and get a sense of passion. Like, why are you in technology? Look, there's a difference between a job and a career. And I tell this to people all the time. There is a lot of bad doctors, okay? And what they did is they were pressured into going into work as a doctor. And I don't say going into a career as a doctor. I say they're pressured into going to school to become a doctor or a lawyer, right? And then they don't really care. And to them it's a job to get a paycheck. That's a job, right? Right? A career is something that you do anyway. I started writing software at 13, right? I just wanted to do it. I didn't know how to do anything else. That becomes a career. If you love what you do, right, you will wake up Saturday morning and turn on the tech channel. That's a career, right? That is something you can't help yourself. And when you can't help yourself, you will naturally become amazing at whatever it is that you love, right? If you love to do it, you will become good at it. It'll just happen, okay? So we're looking for passion. We're looking for those people that love technology. Do you love technology? Join us. Simple.
correct. So, next questions. How would be the power skills, aka soft skills, be determined as such, etc.? They cannot easily be measured in a CV or a code test. That's a very good question. So, um,
I
all of
well,
our,
I do the leadership interviews. I can give some insight into
yes,
this,
it's a
if that's okay.
situational based interview. So we do ask about, well, give me an example of a good collaboration, and what did you learn? Give me an example, give me a past experience. What did you learn from this experience? What would you do differently next time? So we basically, want to get to know your thought process. How do you respond in certain situations? Um, but yeah, Fred,
Well, I was just
if
going
you
to say
want.
exactly. It's scenario based. Give me an example from your life where you had a conflict with someone, um, that and how you resolved it and how you felt and what you thought 2 days later. Okay. So, what were you thinking during the situation? What did you think after the situation? Talk to me about how you collaborated with other people on a school project. These are valid questions. You can get a lot of information. Then we can ask you more questions about that. How did you feel in that interaction? Do you think that was fair in the discussion with the other person? How did you ensure that everyone gained value from that collaboration? I mean, have you thought of these things? Were you even aware of your behaviors at the time of the project, or were you just operating in the moment? How many of you sit back and think about what you did in scenarios and why you unconsciously did it, and how many of you just do it?
Right. So I'm pasting, guys, once more the link to our LinkedIn where we post all of our jobs. If you follow TBST, you'll get updates on any new jobs coming up. So feel free to just basically follow us. Two more questions, Fred, I think for you. If I go for with Python, can I use non-standard packages? And then the second one is, when you say solving problems, what sort of problems do you expect us to solve in the interview?
Good questions. I won't be doing the graduate interviews, so I only do the senior leadership interviews and senior system design architecture interviews these days. So I don't have the answers to that. Maya, if you could please take the technical side of that and get back to the individuals. Um, When it comes to the soft skills one, what was the question there again, please?
No, I don't think it was. I think they were more technical.
Well, the Python one, look at the Python one's straightforward. I don't care what language you use. Like, and I don't care if you use non-standard packages. It's can you show some skill at software engineering? Because look, we're going to retrain you anyway. So it's okay to use non-standard libraries. Now, look, if you're doing Python and you want to get into the data science side, PySpark, you are looking at moving to Krakow. That's all I'll say, because we don't have PySpark data scientists here in Budapest. Now, if you're saying I do Python and I want to come in and try Node and JavaScript and Java, well, then by all means, come in and show us your non-standard Python with your non-standard frameworks. Fine, just be able to explain it and then write some code in front of us. That's completely fine. I would love to see it. Unfortunately, I don't do the coding interviews anymore. My frameworks are about 3 years ago, so well, that's being nice. But we will have competent people. So don't worry about it. If you're good at software, even if it's just Python, not just Python's a great language, especially now with AI. If you're good at any particular language, don't be afraid to apply.
Correct. And like Fred said, we have actually quite a few roles open for within data space where we do utilize Python. So if you Google through, well, not Google, if you go into LinkedIn, type in TESCO as a company and then hit Poland, then you'll see the Krakow vacancies as well.
And you're not limited to just Krakow and Budapest, by the way. We also, if you want to work in India, no problem. We have a large center there with 3,000 people. If you want to work in London, we're happy to hire you and send you to London. So there's lots of options within TESCO.
Exactly, and I also want to point out that this is possible at any point of applying to TESCO, whether it's from the beginning that you want to be considered for a role in another country, or maybe after joining TESCO in Hungary, and after a year or two you want to move, relocate, try out, a different culture, a different place. That's always an option for you. Someone says, yes, please, London. So again, you can just, find us on LinkedIn. The UK has also their own career page. Let me just quickly pull that up for you.
Look, if you're going for the grad program in the UK, get in touch with Maya. We will help you. We're not just going to send you off to the UK website. We're local. We'll help you get in touch with the right people. All right. Just so everyone should have our emails. I don't know. I'm going to put them on the chat. Actually, it's probably not the best idea to post it on YouTube. So if it's all right with everyone here, I'll make sure it goes through the organizers and everyone can have a copy and access to understand how to get in contact with Maya or myself.
Yes. I've also seen a couple of invitations to LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me. I'd say I can also accept a couple of people, let's say 5 first people who wants to have a short session, a 20-minute session booked in with me to review the CVs and help putting it together. Then yeah, first 5 people to text me on LinkedIn, I'll definitely help you out. Please do come with some bases already written up, because 20 minutes might not be enough to write everything from scratch, but I will definitely help you organize it in a way that it looks more appealing. Okay, a couple more invitations coming up. Awesome. So guys, once I accept your invitation, please do text me, because I won't see everyone who send out once I accept.
Yeah, there's a question here. A lot of companies I apply get rejected from the CV part. How can I fix this, as I don't have any sort of feedbacks? Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, so a lot of companies don't have the time. You have to understand that, especially with junior roles, you probably get a ton of applications for the junior roles. So you need to first make sure that your CV stands out. And then here's where we actually look into when we're recruiting for juniors. We do look at GitHub. We very often actually look through those with the hiring managers or senior engineers from the teams that are hiring. So this is something that definitely will help you out. If there's nothing on your GitHub or very little, then your chances might be slim. Connection request, but if you want me to look at your CV, it's first 5 messages after I accept your invitation. So please do text me on LinkedIn in order to be able to select the first 5.
Okay, is there any last questions? Let me just check the chat. Nothing that I can see. Right, if that's the case, I just want to thank everyone for your time today. It's been a pleasure. A bit one-sided. I'm used to more engagement, but the chat works quite well, so we'll stick with that. And thank you, everyone. It was fun. Have a good day.
There's one more question, Fred.
Hmm.
Like, how repository do companies expect from a junior? Well, there's with the juniors, like I say, there's no real expectations, right? But the more experience you get, the better your repository will be looking, and you pretty much whenever you do it, this might sound a little harsh, but no, having experience from multiple companies, I'll tell you that when it comes to recruiting for a junior, companies will always select the best candidates. So the one that will have the most appealing repository, the best described, experienced in the CV, that will seem most passionate about what they're doing. So there's no right and wrong in a sense, but the more you do it, the better you look, and the more appealing and higher chances you are.
I'm just pasting some links to coding kata and coding challenges. Look, my suggestion to everyone here would be to go and do some coding kata and algorithmic software development. So if you want to actually demonstrate some coding experience and you don't have a lot of coding experience, then go and do some coding katas, some coding wars, some coding challenges, right? And save your code into GitHub. At least people can see you attempting to do things. And what you're seeing is you're seeing a series of check-ins over time and the frequency at which you're trying new things. So it's really important when you do software engineering to check in your code every hour or two. Okay. And even as a junior, it's probably even more important. So what you really want to do is you really want to get that code constantly going in there with small changes. Because what you're demonstrating is you're demonstrating that you've done some work and you're continuing to do work and continuing trying to learn. Even if it's just games you're trying or coding katas or coding wars, whatever that might be, any kind of challenge. If you're doing challenges to increase your skills, make sure it's visible to the world. GitHub makes it visible to the world.
Right, so I just wanted to confirm to all of you guys now I have completed 5 interested people to review the CVs. Since all of you guys are men, if there's at least one female, I will do an exception and accept one more CV just to help out another women get into the opportunities.
Everyone else, though, what is everyone else going to be doing? Just applying through LinkedIn, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So Maya's not saying you can't apply. She's just saying she won't be taking it on her LinkedIn direct messenger.
Yes. Also, feel free to follow our LinkedIn page because it is pretty much our tradition now that we organize hackathons. Usually they were internal in TESCO, but recently we've been also looking at the possibility to extend that to be also external. So should we be organizing anything, you'll definitely, if you follow us on LinkedIn, you'll see that update coming up. So stay tuned.
I love the purring cat in the background, Maya. It's great. All right, everyone. Look, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And good luck to all of you, both in your careers and with TESCO.
Thank you. Have a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.